Okay, now we're going to go over the rest of the rules when it comes to parachute units landing. In the previous video, we did cover drift and how you're going to use that to determine where the final hex is for the unit, but it doesn't end there. There is the potential for enemy units to have anti-aircraft fire at the parachuting units once they've landed. So once the final landing hex has been determined, any stacking limitations have been applied, any other units that have been eliminated because they landed in the wrong hex, once all of that has been determined, all the parachuting units are down, that's when the enemy units are going to be allowed to make potential anti-aircraft attacks against the parachuting units themselves. Now, the enemy units themselves can only make one attack per parachute unit with any eligible unit that has obviously range and line of sight to the landing unit. So if this were the final hex for this Spetsnaz unit, this unit could make a anti-aircraft attack against it once this had been determined and all other factors been decided. You can also have eligible enemy units that are within range and line of sight contribute to their fire to the attack as well. And what that would do would be, say this is the unit performing the anti-aircraft attack. If there were eligible units surrounding that had range and line of sight, they would add one firepower die to the unit conducting the attack, up to a maximum of 2 firepower die bonus against the unit. You do need to keep in mind, though, that only HE values may be used to fire at the landing parachute units. While it might be fun to fire, missile-guided weaponry at guys in parachutes, you're not allowed to do that in this game. You do have to use HE weaponry when you're performing that attack. Similar to other soft targets when they are taking fire, the landing parachute units will receive 1 defensive die for this attack, and it's going to save on a roll of a 5 or 6. It's not going to end there, though. There is one more thing that does need to be checked when it comes to parachuting units, and that is a final check for disruption after everything else has been covered. So once all the anti-aircraft fire versus the parachuting units is complete, that's when you're going to make this check for a disruption. And you're going to make a morale check for each one of the parachuting units, and each unit that fails its morale check is going to become either disrupted or reduced depending on its current status. So if this Spetsnaz unit had landed, had received all of its anti-aircraft fire, all that had been resolved, and it was still a whole and hearty unit, if it failed its check for disruption after landing, then it would become disrupted. If it had already been disrupted, obviously it'd be reduced, and so on, like we've talked about with receiving hits. Once all of that has been completed, the parachuting units will be marked ops complete, and that will end it.